Welcome to Sharing My Truth with Mel and Suzie, the uncensored version, where we bear it all.
We do.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, babes. Oh, hello, everyone. Welcome back to Sharing My Truth Pod. It's Suzie and Mel, and we just want to give you a little quick reminder to rate this podcast in the 5 stars and leave us a cute little review if you'd like, because we love you and you love us. And we love to hear from you. And don't forget to follow all of our little socials at Sharing My Truth Pod. Hey, babes. How are you?
Hello, Danny. How are
How are
you?
you doing?
I'm fine.
Just
I'm
fine.
very well.
Very well.
It's a bit hot, but other than that, I'm fine.
Oh, we're getting through it though, aren't we?
Well, we complain when it's cold in Canada, so let's just complain when it's hot too. Why
Yeah,
not?
I mean, honestly, I'm a big fan of the SWAS. We've talked about this.
The SWAS,
new
which
word.
I've only just discovered what that means.
Yes, sweaty ass.
Sweaty ass.
Sweaty ass. Don't forget
You
sweaty
say
tits.
ass. I say ass.
Ass. Sweaty
We don't say
ass.
ass, we say ass. Ass is like a donkey. Ass. Your ass. Your asshole. Anyway.
Your ass hole. Very
Exactly.
nice. It's very,
Yes.
very posh way to say also.
Yes, I suppose it is. I mean, you know. But so we're learning new things, Suzie,
I
already.
love learning through things. Good thing Instagram is also censoring my little asshole, if you know what I goddamn mean.
Yes. Well, I mean, this has been going on for a while, hasn't it? That
It
all
really
the social media
freaking
platforms,
has.
yeah, all the social media platforms sort of have this kind of thing about sexual content, and they just put everything into the same bucket.
Yeah.
So basically, if you're talking about sex, if it's sex education, or you know, you're showing sometimes a bit of skin, apparently it's all porn to them, I think.
But it's also just like women. Just women showing skin, women
Yeah.
talking about sexual pleasure, women doing all these fucking
Yeah.
things. And they think that they can just be like, oh, yeah, sorry, this is actually extremely sexual. And we want to gatekeep your sexuality and anything to do with the clitoris.
100%. I mean, it's often, I mean, I remember we had a post on TikTok, if you remember, a little while ago, and we were obviously fully clothed, and we mentioned the word sex, and in the captions we changed it like most people do in TikTok, but most people say sex, but then they put segs or put
Yeah.
the letter or put the word, the number, sorry, right?
Mhm.
And our video got taken down, and literally within a few minutes I was, you know, scrolling and looking around, and I saw this video of this man in a video who was pretending like he didn't actually have his penis, but he just put a salami on the screen, like a, you know,
Yes.
salami, a big thick salami thing, and he was
Say
otherwise
big salami
naked.
one more time.
And they didn't take that down. I'm like,
Yeah.
you are shitting me. And I think it was a much bigger account. And I mean, I've had this before. I've said to you, I was on Reddit once, and I was doing some ads for some business stuff, and I was just checking what the rules are. And while I was reading the rules, which is what, you know, whatever it says about sexual content, you know, I don't want to exactly repeat the wording without reading it out. And then while I'm looking at it, you know, if you're sort of talking about sex or have sexual content, you know, you can't be sexually suggestive, or so whatever the words are.
Yeah.
While I was reading it, an ad in Reddit for the Lilo vibrators popped up. I was just like,
Right.
what the fuck?
So you
Because
can
they're a
advertise
huge company.
vibrators. Yeah.
Because they're a huge company, and absolutely, of course, they should be advertising. I've got no issue with that, but it should be the same for everybody. And if you're advertising like any kind of, you know, sex toy product, Google makes companies kind of contact them. You have to go through this whole process, and it's like, you know, smaller companies, that's a big problem for them.
Yeah.
But I mean, there's no discerning between stuff. Is just bizarre. And I mean, obviously it's an algorithm when we live in this world of algorithms, don't we?
Mm-hmm. No,
but you can't say anything.
It's absolutely ridiculous. It's like so many of my favorite like Instagram people, like JVN, who's on Queer Eye.
Yeah.
And he's my absolute favorite. And he'll say these affirmations of like being a hot slut. And if
Yeah.
I swear to God, if I were to do this on Instagram or if like any other random person, or just to even say the word slut or anal or fucking, I don't know, even the word fuck, like,
Yeah.
and I would be like, okay, if this is just in Southern America, you know what? You guys fucking do your thing. But like, I find that we are much more a free country in Canada to be able to say things. Maybe that's just a goddamn illusion, though.
I
You
think it
know?
is a bit of an illusion. I mean, I think what's weird, and I'm just looking at Instagram now, is that sometimes you can apparently say the word sex, but like you can't say, sometimes if you say dating in the context of suggesting that you're a company that does so is online dating, whatever, is an app or whatever, then they can read into it. Do you know what I mean? Like often
Mm-hmm.
the content that you can put out when you're just talking about something, the algorithm can sort of read into the fact that you're a company that actually is doing that. Like, and what I mean by that is, let's say you're talking about dating, and they might then say, "Oh no, you're trying to advertise online dating, and that's not allowed," or "You're a sex educator, and therefore you have to show bits of the body." Therefore, you're showing bits of the body, even though it's the context of education. Therefore, you must be a porn company. So they have no way of deciphering what something is, and you see some horrendous things on social media. I mean, obviously, with 2 kids, it's something that I'm really acutely aware of,
Mm-hmm.
and people have been talking about this for years. And there's all sorts of damaging stuff. Yet they're worried about you saying masturbation.
No, seriously.
Which is what everyone is doing, trying to do, talk about, I mean, it's just completely
I just
mad.
like it. It literally doesn't make sense to me. Like the fact that you're going to take, obviously, they are one of the biggest platforms in modern society of just trying to find information about, and everyone's just trying to look for sex. Like everyone is watching porn. It's a proven fact that porn is the number one thing people are looking at. And yet you want to take the literal education part and hide that so that people go into the darkest corners of the internet and find something that is completely irrelevant to what they actually should be looking at. Like, it's just so obnoxious.
Well, it is. I mean, it's adding a level of shame to something that we've been fighting very hard to get rid of, the level of shame. And that, nobody is saying, put free porn on the social media platforms for children to see, for goodness sake. And most of anybody who is, even people who are, advertising their, their things like OnlyFans accounts and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
They're taking you from Instagram to another platform where it's okay to watch that. They're not doing it on Instagram. But then that's weird, isn't it? I mean, the amount of, and yourself included, bikini clad women that are on Instagram, that sometimes seems to be fine and sometimes it's not. I mean,
here's the thing. It's like children shouldn't even be on Instagram. Like, what 100%. Are we worried about? Like, we're worried about adults speaking to each other about adult matters. Like, that's the thing. It's like, why are we even worried about the children seeing this on Instagram? Like, the parents should have more control if that's what they're really fucking worried about. Like, it's not my fault if your child is going to learn about healthy masturbation over Instagram.
Yeah. I think the reason I think is definitely, is cynical, that they're trying to make money out of something. I think that the problem is because there aren't human beings, or a lot of it is an algorithm. Mm-hmm. It can't spot the difference between what is completely normal, healthy, natural, and potentially perhaps what shouldn't be on the platform, right? And it gets so confused between the two things. But if we are saying that you can't say, I mean, if you actually search in TikTok for the word sex, i.e. sex,
mm-hmm.
you cannot find it.
Yeah.
If you type in the word seggs or S3X or S8X, right, you can find sex everywhere on TikTok, which is, like you're saying, if you make people do that, you drive it into a dark corner.
Yeah.
It's absolutely ridiculous. And if you don't have a total blanket, okay, if you don't want people talking about sex toys, no sex toys for anybody. You can't say some companies can sort of somehow do it because they figured out how to do it by getting around the algorithm, right? And other people can't, or people who show sex toys in there just like organic food. It's not an ad. Then that's okay. When technically, and sometimes I've seen people, especially on Instagram, doing ads for sex toys, and they just put hashtag ad or whatever in the caption, and it doesn't get taken down, but it is actually an ad.
Well, here's what's fucking annoying. It's like kids, because a lot of kids are on TikTok. I don't think is it plus 18 to be on TikTok? I can't even remember. But there's a lot of kids on TikTok.
Oh yeah,
and I swear to God, we are going to have a generation of people who don't actually know how to spell sex and other things that we have to keep hiding because they're watching and looking at TikTok so much that they think that these words like SEGGS in the way of sex, because it's the only way we can spell it out on social media, that's how they're actually going to think these things are spelled. And it's going to be stupid consequences like this that are going to like really just, I don't know. It's just, it really bothers me. It's the fact that we can't even say the word. How sensitive have we become?
Well, it says here 13 is the minimum age according to TikTok's terms and conditions. I don't know if that's correct. I've just Googled it. Yeah. But, you're absolutely right. Like if TikTok does not allow talking about sex, then it should be not talking about sex. Not like, there's this one guy who's absolutely hilarious on TikTok who talks about relationships and sex and stuff. And he talks, instead of saying vagina, he says taco, and instead of saying whatever he says, right? And it's just like, really? Is this what the world's come to?
But here's the thing. People are always going to find a way around it, right?
Right.
Like, even if we're like, well, if it's one, then it's everyone. And that's what they're trying to do. No one's allowed to fucking do it, but everyone's always going to try to get around it. So we might as well just let people say what they fucking want to say if it's not hurting anybody. Like, that's what I don't understand. It's not like we're trying to like put like literal pornography out there for like people 13 and up, It's like, no, we're literally just trying to educate and say the word clitoris.
Talk about normal, use normal words. I mean, I think obviously I don't know enough about it, is that it's so difficult to find the line between allowing people to say, sort of talk about sex, to actually putting stuff that's, let's say, to use a legal word, obscene, right? So I guess the platforms find that very hard to differentiate. And of course, in lots of countries, they can't talk about this stuff anyway. I don't know how they do that and stop people, that being viewed in other countries. But the problem is that when we're talking about words that are completely normal and they're words in the Oxford Dictionary, they're not weird, slang terms, or they're actually about terms, bodily functions, or things that exist. So whether we're talking about masturbation or sex or the full word, pornography or erotica or any of these words, they are words. And if you can't actually use those words, and then you have to use all these kind of crazy other words, where are we going with this? And it's, the other thing is that, we keep talking about this. We've talked about this a lot, that we live in a world now where particularly things like talking about sex amongst your peers, or using sex toys, or buying sex toys, or any of those things, or women understanding their bodies a bit better and understanding that orgasms are kind of a function of their body as well, not just, that they kind of need it. It helps distress them and all this kind of stuff. That we are a little bit more aware of all this stuff, yet we can sort of talk about it, but shush, shush, hush, hush. You sort of can't talk about it. It seems to me, or I think it seems to a lot of women, and somebody needs to tell us if this is not the case, that anything to do with women seems to get banned first.
Yes.
And
it does.
That doesn't make any sense at all, does it?
No, it doesn't.
But I mean, I think the answer is, you can't say anything. You can't say, fuck, sex, masturbate.
Fuck, sex, bollocks. Do you think you can say bollocks?
You can probably say bollocks, because if the algorithm is American, they won't know what we're talking about.
That's true. That's very
Maybe
true.
That's the answer, that we'll just use all the British words.
But here's the thing. Is this not the case in the UK?
Yeah, of course it is. I'm joking.
But no,
I
that's like
I don't know what
the
it
UK
does.
the UK is so it shouldn't it be country specific? Like the UK is so open to sex, as we've talked about,
Yeah.
right? And now it's just no one's allowed to have their tits out. Come on.
Yeah, I mean, I think, probably, UK, Australia, Canada, the United States, I would assume the TikTok, Instagram rules, obviously there'll be country rules, but it's sort of similar.
Yeah.
And what you can say and do and stuff, and the attitudes, the kind of prevailing attitudes, whatever, anybody, especially in Canada and the US, UK wants to say about the US, the prevailing attitude, is the modern attitude is similar. I mean, there are people who have old-fashioned attitudes in all of these countries, including Canada. But I don't know. And I think the other thing that's very, very confusing, and it would be really helpful if Meta could clarify this, is you can say certain things on Instagram,
Mm-hmm.
but if you share them to Facebook, then that's not okay. And you're like, how does that
so
work? It's the same company.
It's the
It
same
just
company.
doesn't make any sense.
And the user age is even higher on Facebook.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't you be able to? And I thought Facebook, for some reason, it used to be like this. Facebook, you had to be 18 to use it. Maybe that's not the case anymore.
You probably click something. There's absolutely no way they can police that. But to cover their ass, yeah.
But just the fact that they want adults to be on there, and so the fact that you can't even say adult subject matter. And we're not talking about porn. We're talking literally just about vibrators. It's just pleasure and education.
Yeah, well, that's the thing I don't understand is what is the problem with the words?
Yes.
Right? You're saying you just typed in the word.
Not even
you
visuals.
Doing it on Instagram. That's what doesn't make any sense is that there are other platforms where people can go and you can talk more openly and you can send people to those platforms and those platforms allow it, and that's fine. And if it's talking about, more adult content, then obviously people will go to things like OnlyFans and stuff like that. And that platform allows it. But you're talking about the words, not showing anything. But then how hypocritical it is that you stand there in your bikini, which clearly is being clothed, but you can't say the word masturbate.
Yeah.
Unless, were you wearing a bikini while you were saying the word masturbate?
You know what? I actually was, but they told me, no, but this isn't the problem. I told you, I've never been in trouble for wearing a bikini on any social media, but the problem has always been with the words or the speaking. It's never been with what I've been wearing, which is wild because what I'm wearing is for the male gaze, obviously.
Yeah, but I've not me personally, but professionally, I'm in digital marketing, and I've done work within the gym clothes and like sports bras and stuff like that. And I remember a couple of years ago I was running some ads for sports bras, and this model was wearing leggings and a sports bra, and the ad was banned.
What?
Because the middle section, obviously between under her boobs and the top of the leggings, was showing. And you're like, hang on a second. I was on Instagram 25 seconds ago and I saw a lot of bikinis and boobs.
So many tits. There's so many tits on Instagram.
So that's also my problem with it is it doesn't seem to be, it seems to be a bit like, oh, all of a sudden today, the algorithm has woken up and seen yours and decided to come down on you. And I know that it also could be reporting. So and I've seen there's a story actually on TikTok, and I don't know what this woman sells on her account or whatever, but it's this woman in England who had this big account. She was selling stuff, and I don't think it was sex, but somebody reported her for whatever the post was, and her account, which was her main way of selling her products, got banned because obviously there's nobody to talk to.
Yeah.
And then you're like, why are you going out of your way to report a post about where somebody may have used the word sex? It's like our post on TikTok that it was the reason it was taken down by TikTok. It was reported by somebody.
Yeah.
When we were both, fully clothed, and we just said the word sex, and somebody thought that wasn't appropriate. And you're like, seriously? You thought us versus the bajillion other accounts.
Mhm.
But you don't, and people are malicious. So, I mean, that is part of it, that there's people reporting stuff just for shits and giggles. And like you said, when you type the word in masturbate, it said, do you want to do this because other accounts have been flagged or
It
whatever?
was literally like it, and it's never happened to me before because I used to like put a lot of social media, like sex positive social media educational stuff on
Yeah.
Instagram, and I've happily said masturbate or typed it out, and for this one specifically, I was like, and it was on our Sharing My Truth pod Instagram. It wasn't even on my personal. So who knows if it was because it was on the pod Instagram and it was like, and I was like, make sure you masturbate today. And they were like, oh, are you sure you wanted to spell this out? Because other posts like this have been reported. So you sure you want to do that?
Yeah. I mean, I wonder, I haven't actually noticed that on Instagram, whether have you noticed that since then? Like if you've written the word sex, if it comes up or anything?
No, I haven't even tried.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, I don't know, and I haven't actually posted anything that's used those words recently. But I mean, the strange thing, like on the pod here, we can talk quite openly, and we can talk very openly on the pod, and there's a lot of other podcasts like ourselves that talk about female issues, and they can talk about masturbating or sex or the menopause or periods or whatever it is, and they can even put that in their show notes so you as a listener can see that. But then when we want to let you know that there's a new episode, we obviously, the main channels to let people know, other than email, and still emailing your email list, I mean your listeners who've signed up to your email list, the main way people podcast hosts tell their audience, the way we're telling you, our listeners, is via social media. But then when we tell you via social media, and I'm sure you're all aware of this, we have to filter it. We have to like go, okay, well, can we say that? Can we write that?
Mm-hmm.
And it gets extremely confusing because there isn't a blanket rule. Because I think what we do, like a lot of podcasts will do, is you'll go and look at other podcasts in your genre and see what they're doing, and they're happily doing it. But they're probably a bigger account, and then you do it and then you get busted. So that's the biggest, my beef with it, is that have the rule, but it's for everyone.
Well, here's the thing.
Don't have the rule.
Or
don't have the rule.
Exactly. And I'm on Wired, the the magazine, and it's from the UK, and it just says Instagram is removing sex positive accounts without warning. So they're not even giving you a pop-up being like, hey, by the way, we're gonna remove this account. This is why. They're not even doing that anymore. It just says the platform has suddenly suspended dozens of high-profile accounts, cutting people off from their communities that keep them safe. And this was like 6 days ago. This was published. Like this is, it's been bad, but this is like a new thing that Instagram is, for some reason, just going ape shit on sex education platforms for no reason. Like do you know how many sex bots there are not even soliciting real sex, but like just trying to scam you into something. And they haven't done anything about those. There's so many bots on Instagram. Like, where are their priorities?
But I wonder if also, like, if you put a post and you put text, let's say you've created a post on Canva, or you're reposting somebody, reposting a quote or whatever it is, and the words are in there as opposed to you having typed them in. That I guess doesn't seem to get flagged. I mean, the answer is, unfortunately, for people like us, who all we're actually trying to do is educate. That sounds a bit obnoxious. We're trying to openly talk about stuff, sex related subjects, and actually anything to do with life. It just, obviously, sex is a huge part of life, and I said before, we're either thinking about it, doing it, or trying to do it. And most people are trying to do that in a consensual, adult, healthy manner. Well, that they're doing whatever they're doing in their private life is consensual and legal.
Yeah.
Obviously, there are people who are not doing that, and we're not talking about that. We're talking about what is consensual and legal and healthy and we're also talking about it from our two generations perspective, which is interesting because you come from a generation that's much more sex positive or grew up with much more sex positivity than my generation. Yet if you start doing this in these platforms, which is the main way that particularly millennials and Gen Z speak, then what are we saying?
Yeah.
I don't understand what we're saying.
But what if
We're saying it's kind of dangerous, but
it's super dangerous because it's just making everyone just push harder into weirder places that they have to go look now if they can't look on the regular platforms.
100%. I mean, I think that a lot of the sort of mainstream platforms, particularly obviously Meta being in the US, that they're worried about any issues to do with children. So what they're doing is they're just lumping the whole thing into the same bracket. So just saying blanket, no, we don't want it in case somebody sees it. And like you're saying, like a lot of these, and I think I could be wrong, but I think most of these platforms did come out and say, if this is about sex education, which is obviously very important, then we're not going to do anything. But they've actually done the complete reverse, haven't they? They've started banning. Yeah.
What about sex emojis though, huh? Like, are they banning eggplants and peaches? And like, what are they doing there?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's very much like the word SEGGS, right? It isn't actually the word. It isn't. It is actually an aubergine. It is actually a peach. It is eggplant. It is actually raindrops. The fact that we all know it doesn't mean that nobody in their right mind is going to send a text with raindrops, a peach, and an aubergine and think it means, and think it means, oh, let's have peaches and aubergines for dinner under the rain, right? So everyone knows what it means, but it doesn't actually mean that, if you know what I mean. So I guess people can get away with it. I don't know. I mean, where are we going with this? I think, like so many other things in our society, we're so very confused about so many different things, and it's not helpful. It's not helping, is it? And it makes me it makes me very annoyed because as a digital marketeer, I think it's very annoying that the people who basically suffer are the people, the smaller accounts, the smaller companies. If you're a big company and you are able to literally get in touch with Meta, then you can pretty much seems to be able to do what you want.
Yeah, of course, they care what you say. Yeah.
Yeah, then you're smaller, you'll get busted. And I mean, it's just bizarre. I mean, I don't understand why is it that a platform which is meant for adults, perhaps not TikTok, perhaps Instagram and Facebook, that you would have a problem with sex toys, and sex toys are not the same as drugs and guns, you know, and pornography. And I mean, maybe it's just too fine a line, and they now, I mean, I guess it's got to be to do with algorithms, you know. And
but you know what? There are
AI.
there are gun like advocates or whatever the fuck you want to call them on Instagram. I see them all the time. Shooting.
Yeah.
Not shooting people, but shooting things. And that's like a vibrator. It's just being a vibe. It's just vibing out. It's not going in someone, you know?
Yeah.
So
yeah, and probably because they're not advertising and because it's not text, they're not getting, I mean, it just seems like, how could that be possible?
Well, that's right.
But I mean, I honestly do think this is going to get worse, and you're going to, and it, to me, it's also censorship. You know, you have to, it goes to anything, you know, if you want people to speak about whether you agree with them or not, we live in democracy. So why are you censoring people? But apparently we are censoring them. And I don't know what to say. I just find it, that it's also unfortunate that it's having a much bigger impact on females than it is on males, because I know I saw some statistics somewhere about accounts talking about and sex positivity, and for the most part they're probably talking from the female point of view, and also like accounts talking about menopausal things, or I remember a bunch of products, specifically I can't remember the products exactly, but for like female menopausal products, and they were banning them, and they were banning those ads because obviously it was about the menopause and they were talking about sex or whatever they were talking about, or that obviously talking about female sexual
crazy.
reproduction. But when there were ads for male,
Yeah, Viagra.
Viagra, virility issues, nutraceutical product, blah, 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 they weren't getting banned.
Well,
And
you
you're
know,
just like, what?
yeah, like I mean, obviously you said that obviously it's hurting women, which it is. It is hurting women like in a huge way. And like our sexual pleasure is, it's something not to be ashamed about. But it's also hurting younger kids. I'm not talking about like children, but kids that are interested in sex, that
Yeah.
are obviously interested in sex because it's just a human, right that we have. We have a sexual body, we have a sexual mind. Like that's just what happens. And like
Yeah.
it is hurting younger people because they can't find what they're actually looking for in a regular way, and it just makes them look to Pornhub, which probably is not the best education place.
No, absolutely not. I mean, I'd say that's 100% correct, that we live in a world where still a lot of young people, and as I've mentioned many times, I have 2 teenagers. I happen to be very open about sex. I don't find it difficult to talk about it. My kids know they can talk to me or whatever. But a lot of young people do not have that relationship with their parents. Their parents
No.
find it difficult. And even today, they find it difficult to have the sort of birds and the bees discussion. And it's then that means that those children turn to things like Pornhub. So why on earth, the sexual education in schools is really, most of the time you're far too young to really understand what they're talking about. And
they're doing it
it's
in a
not
bad way. It's not
very
good.
good.
It's not good at all, actually.
No, and
I
it
didn't
should be a
know.
continuous thing. It should be a
Well,
continuous. I mean, from my memory, my
yeah.
kids had it when they were very, very young, and then that was it. And they're like 9. They don't you can start talking about things, but this kind of has to be a progressive thing, right?
Well, they're still showing the videos from like the 80s.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what they're showing now, but it's still, it's not helpful. Let's put it that way. And I understand it's very difficult. It's very difficult, and there are cultural issues, and there are all sorts of issues in teaching these things in schools. But the point is that if your family isn't going to talk to you, so therefore you have to go and find your information somewhere else, and you can't have a conversation with your mother or your father or even an older sibling or a cousin or an aunt or something like that. If you don't have anywhere to turn, then you're going to turn to the internet. And if you shut down places which the material is educational, it's just speaking the truth, it is not in any way obscene, then they will have no choice but to turn to things like Pornhub. And I'm not knocking Pornhub, but if that is your only source of education as a young woman or a young man, or a young,
a young person,
sort of young teenager, we're in trouble.
Well, I didn't even here's the story about me, okay? Because I remember my sex education, and I remember it started when I was like 10 years old. I think that's regular, or like 9 years old, whatever it was. And then obviously, like we had it until we were like end of junior high. I don't think it even continues into high school, like you're saying. But I swear to God, Mel, I didn't learn about the clitoris in my sex education classes, and that was like for, let's say, like 5 years of sex education in school. And I do not remember learning about the clitoris, because I remember that was something that I learned on my own. I didn't even realize it existed.
Oh, 100%.
And that's
100%. I mean, it took me years.
And I doubt the fuck that it's like that they're talking about it now. There's no fucking way.
No, and it's also very, very difficult for them to talk about. I mean, it's shrouded in so many issues. I mean, look, at the end of the day,
it's just anatomy, though. Like that's the thing.
It is anatomy. But if we can't figure this out on a platform, a social media platform that has an age limit, how on earth are they going to figure it out in schools? And it's not helpful. It is not helpful, and we continue, giving children all these mixed messages, not the right understanding. And then, like you said, what they do is they just find out themselves. And I think personally, if I think about kids today, they are sexually active a lot younger, younger.
Yeah.
And it's not just that they're, very young, they're 13, 14, perhaps even younger. They've had a lot of partners by the time they're 18, like a lot. And I'm not in any way critical of that, but it is a way of finding out, right? There's just, and the information, it's very hard to find information. And actual education. If you keep cutting off every route to that, and the only route that you have is porn, which again, I mean, I don't know, I don't understand why people don't understand that porn is entertainment. You go to the movies, you're being entertained. Porn is it's not gross, it's not whatever, it's just entertainment.
Well,
it's not education, it's entertainment.
No, and this is a little bit on the darker side. I don't want to get dark here, but like, if we don't teach kids what feels okay sexually, then they're going to have really bad sexual experiences, and they're not going to know it until later because they don't fucking know what is happening.
Of course.
And this is how they get taken advantage of.
Of course,
by older people that are,
100%, 100%. But I think that is the woman's story in a nutshell. I mean,
totally.
there isn't enough information. Like, if I think it doesn't matter whether it's about sex, whether it's about having a family, whether it's about can you manage a family and a job and a marriage and any of these things that we seem to be completely incapable of talking about. We have to get there, find out, and go, oh, right, this is quite hard. And it doesn't seem to matter what it is, that we can't have some kind of open, honest discussions. And I find that very, very troubling. And if, like I said, if we are banning words that are in the dictionary, we're not banning images, we're banning the words, and they are describing something that is a thing. And we're not talking about gratuitous or obscene or, horrendous things. We're talking about sex education, something that is crucial to life, right? None of us would be here, everyone, if somebody hadn't done the act.
That's right.
It's like, I mean, what is going on? I mean, the world, as we know, is going stark raving mad in every single area of everything that happens. I mean, everything is just mad, isn't it?
It really
this
fucking
is just
is.
Another level of madness. And I it's so irritating. And I would say to people, like, for example, I myself as a marketeer, as I start to try and use platforms where I know I can contact somebody. I mean, that's the most irritating thing about using things like TikTok or Instagram, Facebook, even Twitter, is who exactly do you contact? You just get banned. That's it. You just get shut down. You just get, that's it. And especially with something like TikTok and Instagram, where they're continuously incentivizing you to post, to advertise, and so on and so forth. And then they slam you. I mean, I've been in many situations where I've run an ad and, I've posted something and they didn't like it because it said the word dating and I wasn't advertising dating, or like I said, where it showed, as far as Instagram is concerned, too much flesh or whatever. They take your ad down, or they take your post down, sorry. And then literally 20 seconds later, a thing pops out. Would you like to advertise? Would you like to do this? Would you like, you're like, hang on, you've just told me I can't post that.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on? But I mean, it just shows you there is no common sense here. There are no people involved. There are algorithms, and the algorithms are not humans, and they cannot differentiate. And I guess the other problem, my kind of final word on it, is that there is such an enormous volume of stuff on social media, or obviously the internet in general. How do they... I mean, they'd have to have armies and armies and armies of people, and we know that Elon Musk fired half of them, didn't he? And they need to have all these algorithms, and the algorithms just don't work. I mean, you know what it's like when you go onto Instagram, and let's say you watch one video of a cat, and then all you see for the rest of your life are fucking cats. And you're like, I just watched that cat because I was bored. I don't really care. I don't want to see any more cats. But then you just see cats.
I just want to see some pussy. I don't want to see cats anymore.
Well, there you go. There you go. Well, that will definitely never happen. But I don't know. I don't know if anybody has.
Mel, I think we just need to start our own social media platform. This is the solution to this.
Definitely. It's definitely the solution.
That's the solution.
And it's the only solution. The only solution is to have places where you can talk openly, freely, truthfully, and we're not saying anything that's wrong. Like if you're using words like sex, for God's sake, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that is the only answer. But I would say anybody, again, like we always encourage you to share your stories. Please let us know if you've had issues where either you are a sex educator, a sex expert, a psychotherapist, whatever it is, or just somebody who is posting, or you sell intimate items or sex toys or whatever it is. And if you've had issues and you've had lots of trouble posting, advertising, etc., we'd love to hear about it, because
Absolutely.
it's a huge problem.
Yeah.
I don't know what the answer is. I really don't. It's just very
There's no
annoying.
answer. We just have to fucking keep on rolling on, trying to show the puss, trying to show the tits, and we'll see what happens.
Showing the puss and the tits.
Hopefully we don't get banned.
Thank you, sis. Well,
I
fortunately,
hope so.
Apple will not. They'll be all right with it. But I don't know. Yeah, it's very annoying. And yeah, you just have to keep going and keep finding ways to talk about the thing that you're talking about in a roundabout way, right?
That's right. And you guys can talk to us anytime, talk to us about your sexual encounters. We're not going to ban you. Okay. We're not TikTok. We're not Instagram.
Exactly. We're not going to ban you for anything that you share.
That's right.
And we're going to figure out a way so that you can share it somewhere else, so that we don't have to do it on Instagram. But anyway, we can speak.
We digress.
Yes. Anyway, there you go. That's my rant of the day.
I love Mel's rant of the day.
Yeah. I
So
think
relevant.
I feel better
It's
now.
literally happening to us in real fucking time. It's insanity. But thank you guys so much for listening. And we love you guys so much. We just want to give you a little reminder to rate and review this podcast 5 stars. Tell us what you think of it, because we love you and we want to hear from you. And you can always talk to us at sharingmytruth.com or at sharingmytruthpod on any of our social medias. Mel, my darling.
Yes. Until we meet again.
Until we meet again, my love.
And we love you all. And we'll be with you again soon, talking about
We'll chat
sex.
soon.
Chat. Bye.
Bye. Sharing My Truth Pod is so excited to partner with Vibrator.com, where the A in Vibrator is the number 8. This is an extremely exclusive code where no other podcast has it. If you go to Vibrator.com right now, use the code MS15, that's MS15 at Vibrator.com. You can now get 15% off anything in store. That's any sex toys for you, your partner, your neighbor, your mom. We don't judge. We don't care. Get it now. Go to the link in our bio, put in the code, and get jiggy with it.
Thanks so much for listening. Please rate and review this podcast and follow us on social at Sharing My Truth Pod, and leave us a voicemail on our website at sharingmytruth.com to share your stories and experiences with us. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye.